The first thing Emily Carter learned on her 30th birthday was that a smile could be crueler than silence. The house was full of voices, music, and the smell of warm cake. But Emily felt like she was standing outside her own life, watching it through glass. Her parents' living room in suburban Ohio looked perfect, balloons taped to the walls, fairy lights glowing softly, a banner that read "Happy 30th Emily." Her coworkers laughed near the sofa, neighbors chatted by the kitchen island, and her parents moved around trying to make everyone comfortable. This was supposed to be a big moment. 30, a fresh chapter. That's what people said. Emily held a plastic cup in both hands, her fingers tight around it. She smiled when someone looked her way. She always smiled. It was easier than explaining why she never fully relaxed around her own family. Across the room stood her older sister, Lauren. Lauren Carter had always owned every room she walked into. She was loud without trying, confident without effort, and sharp in a way people admired. Growing up, teachers praised Lauren. Friends followed Lauren. Their parents trusted Lauren. Emily was the quiet one, the careful one, the one who tried not to be a problem. Lauren caught Emily's eye and smirked. That familiar look made Emily's stomach tighten. It was the look that usually came before a joke that went a little too far. Emily looked away. She reminded herself that tonight was about celebration. She was an adult now. She didn't need approval. She didn't need to feel small. But old habits don't disappear just because you want them to. When everyone gathered near the dining table, Emily stood beside the cake. 30 candles flickered, their light dancing on her face. People clapped. Someone whistled. Her mother wiped her eyes, emotional. Her father smiled, hands folded, quiet as always. Lauren raised her glass. Before Emily blows out the candles, she said, her voice cutting through the noise, "I have something special planned." Emily's heart skipped. She felt every eye turn toward her. Lauren smiled wide. "Relax, Em. It's all in good fun." She walked over and handed Emily a small box wrapped in silver paper. Emily hesitated. She glanced at her parents. Her mother looked nervous. Her father looked away. That should have been a warning. Emily opened the box. Inside was a white envelope with a logo printed on it. Clean, medical, cold. She frowned. "What is this?" Lauren laughed. A sharp, easy laugh. "It's a DNA test." A few people chuckled, unsure how to react. Emily felt heat rise to her face. "Why would you?" Lauren didn't let her finish. "I just thought," Lauren said loudly, "since Emily's always been a little different, it might be fun to finally confirm if she's really Dad's or just another man's mistake." The room went silent. Not the awkward kind. The heavy kind. Emily's ears rang. She felt like the floor had shifted under her feet. Her chest tightened so fast she struggled to breathe. She looked at Lauren, waiting for the punchline. None came. She looked at her mother. Her mother's face had gone pale. She looked at her father. He didn't look back. That hurt more than the words. Lauren waved a hand. "Oh my God, don't be so dramatic. It's a joke. Everyone knows you can't take a joke." No one laughed. Emily's hands shook as she held the envelope. 1,000 memories rushed into her mind all at once. Family photos where she stood slightly apart. Comments about how she didn't look like either parent. The way her father loved her kindly, but never fiercely. She had always told herself she was imagining things. Now, she wasn't so sure. "I need a minute," Emily said quietly. She set the box on the table, turned, and walked toward the hallway. Her legs felt weak, but she didn't stop. She didn't run. She refused to give Lauren the satisfaction. In the bathroom, Emily locked the door and leaned against it. Her reflection stared back at her, brown eyes wide, lips pressed together, a woman trying not to fall apart on her own birthday. She didn't cry. She was too stunned for tears. After a few minutes, she washed her face, straightened her dress, and returned to the party. People avoided her eyes. Someone turned the music up. The moment was buried under forced normalcy. Lauren acted like nothing had happened. Emily blew out the candles. Everyone clapped. The cake was cut, but the celebration was over for her. Later that night, after the guests left and the house grew quiet, Emily stood in the kitchen with her parents. The air felt thick. "I didn't mean it like that," her mother said quickly. "Lauren can be thoughtless." Emily looked at her father. "Is it true?" He swallowed. "That's not something to talk about tonight." That answer said everything. Emily nodded slowly. "Okay." She went home soon after. In her apartment, Emily sat on the edge of her bed, the silver-wrapped box beside her. She stared at it for a long time. She could throw it away, pretend it never happened, go back to guessing. Instead, she opened her laptop. She ordered the test, not out of anger, out of a quiet need for honesty. The weeks that followed moved fast. Emily went to work. She smiled. She answered messages. Lauren sent texts, pretending everything was normal. Emily didn't reply. At night, questions kept her awake. Why had her father always felt distant? Why did Lauren feel so confident saying those words? Why did her parents never deny it? When the kit arrived, Emily followed the instructions carefully. She sealed the envelope with steady hands. Once it was sent, she felt a strange calm. Whatever the truth was, she was ready. Or so she thought. The email came on a Tuesday evening. Emily sat at her kitchen table, laptop open, rain tapping against the window. Her heart pounded as she logged in. The words were clear, clinical, final. Her father was not her biological father. Emily closed the laptop. She sat there in silence, listening to the rain, feeling something break and settle at the same time. The joke wasn't a joke. It was a door. And once opened, there was no going back. Emily Carter never expected a single email to change everything. She thought she knew about her life. The results sat on her laptop. Screen like a verdict. Her father was not her biological parent. At first, she couldn't breathe. The words were so simple, so clinical, yet they tore through her mind like a storm. All the doubts she had buried over the years suddenly made sense, the quiet distance of her father. The sharp favoritism toward Lauren, the subtle way she always felt different. For decades, Emily had chalked it up to imagination, to being overly sensitive. Now, the truth was undeniable. Her apartment felt too quiet. The hum of the refrigerator, the soft tapping of rain against the windows. Even the ticking of the wall clock seemed magnified. She remembered every birthday, every family dinner, every time Lauren's teasing had cut deeper than it should have. All those moments that seemed small before now glowed with new meaning. Her life had been shaped by a secret she had never known. Emily's first instinct was to confront her parents. That night, she drove to the house she had grown up in, the rain streaking her windshield as her mind raced with questions. She could barely form sentences in her head, yet the need for answers pushed her forward. Her mother opened the door before she could knock, eyes wide, lips slightly parted. She had been expecting this confrontation, Emily realized. "Mom." Emily began, voice steady but firm. "I need the truth." Her mother swallowed, stepping aside to let her in. She closed the door behind them, the sound echoing like a warning bell. "Emily, I didn't want you to find out this way," she said softly. "It was never meant to hurt you." Emily's heart hammered. "Then tell me why." Her mother took a shaky breath and sat down at the kitchen table. "Years ago, before your father and I married, I made a mistake. I didn't know how to tell him. I thought keeping it a secret would protect you. I never wanted to hurt you, Emily. I wanted to keep our family together." Emily listened quietly, the words forming a mosaic of her childhood she had never fully understood. She felt anger rising, a tight ball in her chest. But beneath it was relief, finally a reason. A story behind the constant feeling of being misplaced. Her father had not yet spoken. And when he appeared in the doorway, Emily's heart skipped. He looked older, more fragile than she remembered. His hand shook slightly as he gestured for her to sit. "I know this isn't easy," he said, voice low. "And I know I failed you by staying silent. I didn't raise you knowing the full truth. I raised you knowing love, but I can see now that silence hurt more than honesty ever could." Emily studied him. She remembered the quiet moments when he had comforted her after small disappointments. The careful guidance he offered without ever being harsh. He had been there in his own way, a father in every sense except the one written in blood. "I don't need perfection," Emily said finally. "I needed protection. And you gave me that, even if you didn't give me the full truth." Her parents' eyes glistened, and for the first time Emily felt a weight lift. She realized that blood did not define love. That family was not always biological. She had spent so long feeling like a shadow in her own life. And now, for the first time, she understood the meaning of her own strength. But Lauren had said the words with such ease, such cruelty. Emily thought of her sister's laugh, the mockery that had haunted so many birthdays. Lauren had never apologized. Emily felt a flicker of sadness for that, a quiet acknowledgement that some people reveal themselves not by accident, but by choice. In the weeks that followed, Emily began to build her life outside the shadow of her family. She distanced herself gently but firmly, attending only when necessary, answering texts sparingly. Her world expanded in quiet ways, new friendships, late-night conversations. Small joys she had ignored while trying to fit into a life that was never fully hers. It was during this time that Daniel Moore, a coworker who had always noticed her quiet presence, became more than just a colleague. Daniel was kind, patient, and attentive. He didn't pry. He didn't ask for explanations. He simply listened, and when Emily shared her story, he didn't judge or question. He held space for her grief, her confusion, and her eventual clarity. One crisp autumn evening, Emily sat with Daniel on a bench outside her apartment, the leaves crunching beneath their feet. The wind was chilly, but it carried a sense of possibility. Daniel looked at her with a softness that made her chest ache in a way she hadn't felt in years. "Family isn't always who claims you," Daniel said quietly. "It's who chooses you. And the people who stand by you, the ones who see your heart, they are what matters." Emily felt tears prick her eyes. But this time, they weren't tears of pain. They were tears of release. She realized she had been searching for love and acceptance in the wrong places. Her father had chosen to love her, imperfectly but sincerely. Daniel had chosen to see her fully and unconditionally. And she was finally learning to choose herself. Months passed. Emily's relationship with Daniel grew steadily, built on trust, understanding, and quiet romance. There were no grand gestures, no dramatic declarations, just a consistent presence that healed wounds old and deep. She found joy in the small moments, shared coffees, late-night walks, conversations that lasted for hours. Laughter that reached her soul. Her father eventually came to visit her apartment. He looked nervous, carrying the weight of years of silence. "I know I can't change the past," he said, "but I want you to know that I've always loved you. Blood doesn't define us." Emily nodded. She felt a sense of closure she hadn't thought possible. Forgiveness didn't erase the past, but it gave her a bridge to the future. She understood now that her life wasn't defined by mistakes, her own or others. She could create her own path, filled with love, honesty, and people who chose her freely. Lauren, however, remained distant. Emily realized she didn't need Lauren's approval or acknowledgement to define her worth. That revelation brought a quiet power she had never experienced before. She had survived the sting of ridicule, the betrayal of secrets, and the uncertainty of identity. And now, she was free to embrace her own story. Emily kept the DNA test results in a drawer. Not as a source of pain, but as a reminder of her resilience. She had faced the truth, and the truth had made her stronger. She was no longer defined by someone else's words, by someone else's mistakes, or by the assumptions of her family. She was defined by her choices, her courage, the people who stood beside her when she needed them most. On her next birthday, Emily didn't host a big party. She didn't need applause or validation. Instead, she celebrated quietly with Daniel by her side. They shared a simple meal, watched the sunset, and for the first time in her life, Emily felt fully present. She smiled not out of habit or obligation, but from a deep place of peace and understanding. She realized that identity, love, and family were not dictated by blood alone. They were built through trust, care, and the courage to face difficult truths. Emily had been called a mistake once, mocked and teased, and yet she had emerged whole. She had learned that, being true to herself, choosing the people who valued her, and embracing her own heart was more powerful than any family's secret or cruel joke. The storm of her past had passed, leaving behind clarity and freedom. Emily had found love that was chosen, respect that was earned, and a life that she could finally claim as her own. She wasn't a mistake. She was a woman who had survived, grown, and loved fully. And that realization, simple but profound, became the greatest gift of all. From that day forward, Emily carried herself differently. Her confidence wasn't loud or boastful. It was quiet, steady, and unshakable. She knew that no words, no secrets, and no past could take away her worth. And as she walked through her life with Daniel beside her, she understood at last that love and family were not about who you were born to, but about who chose to be there when it mattered most. The DNA test had revealed a truth she hadn't expected, but the journey through that truth had led her to a deeper understanding of herself and the people who truly mattered. Emily had turned pain into strength, heartbreak into clarity, and ridicule into empowerment. And in that quiet, steady realization, she discovered something far greater than any birthday celebration or family approval. She discovered herself.